course, we all know that there are cases having been filed here and there, especially against the former president. This is for plunder. But one thing is to file a case, another thing is to win it, which in this country it takes too long to know which is what. Mean to say, the justice system may not be really dysfunctional, but it is not that functional because of the time delay in the resolution of cases. I know some judges who have thousands of cases at the back of their cabinets, unsolved, there, practically rotting. And sagot ko, yes, marami nang na buksan dahil sa Senate inquiry about the armed forces of the Philippines. Marami. Pero kung ito'y malulutas during our lifetime, I don't know. And I'm talking especially of my lifetime, which is not very long anymore. And there is a saying that justice delayed is justice denied. Now, after that, may I pick up something from what Representative Collins said? It's about the... Meron tanong kanina na itong mga positive factors na sinabi ng Pangulo na gaganap sa ating bansa, ito ba'y totoo o hindi? Okay? Was that not the gist of the question? Sa dami-dami,
and from the people said.
Sa dami-dami ng nagaganap na mabuti sa ating bansa, mas maulad, mas this, mas that, mas that. Ito ba'y totoo o hindi? And I am very happy that you mentioned the OFW. If you know, there was a time when Netherlands had no population practically in that country because there was no work, there were no possibilities, no employment, no capital. So what happened? The people of Netherlands left the country and they went for employment everywhere they could find anything. And Netherlands was left practically empty. But as the country began to little by little improve in its economic status, the population of Netherlands slowly came back and left already the foreign lands they were employed before, because there is no place like home. And now you should see Netherlands. Now, question, how real are those positive figures mentioned by the President? I dare say that on the ground reality, to know this, on the ground reality, is to see if our OFWs are coming back. Or are there more people living the country and their families? Hindi kailangan dito statistics, hindi kailangan dito ang reportage, etc., etc. Basta bumabalik na ang mga OFW dito sa Pilipinas, unti-unti, ibig sabihin, bumubuti ang sitwasyon ng bansa. Kaya sabihin ng kahit sino, wala yung salita, kundi yung katotohanan dito sa baba. As of now, I think we have about 8,000, 9,000 OFW?
8 million.
8.7 million. Now, do you know that it may be hard to accept it, but the Philippines is practically kept economically afloat by OFW remittances. Ulitin ko yan. The Philippines is practically kept economically afloat by OFW remittances. Now, pagka ang mga tao sa Pilipinas ay hindi na binalak na umalis, ilagay sa danger ang kanilang dignidad at buhay, pagkat ang mga employment, especially in the Middle East, are deadly. Pag ang mga Pilipino ay hindi na malis, at hindi lang hindi malis, kundi may mga OFW pong mabalik, then we have made. But before that, not yet.
Idagdag ko po yan. Alam niyo yung populasyon natin is an asset as far as global employment is concerned. Kasi right now, there are so many countries that are lacking population. Aging population. Andyan ang Western Europe, andyan ang Japan, andyan ang Korea. Even China is starting to experience that now. Singapore, na-reverse nila yung kanilang policy. The US is experiencing that. Kaya andun ang opportunity natin to deploy our people because there is a global demand. Alam niyo kasi, ang manpower ngayon is almost, well, not almost, but as valuable as oil. Kasi pag wala kang manpower, paano ka makakaandar? Para kang bansa na may manpower, walang oil. Commodity, that is an economic resource. Manpower is an economic resource. So that's something that we have to look at. I invite you to read the book by George Friedman, The Next 100 Years, where he is predicting that in about 10 to 15 years, these countries are going to beg for immigrants dahil kung hindi, magkukulaps yung kanilang economy. Having said that, babanggitin ko, in the 70s, ang Greece deployed almost 20% of their population. Naging sila yung mga OFW noong una. That's why you will find a lot of Greeks in the US, in Australia, marami yan, all over. At that time, they generated a princely sum of a little over $1 billion. This was in the early 70s. Noong panahon na yun, yung $1 billion, mga 1.5 billion was quite a big amount, no? Compared to our 21 billion. So, yun ang dahilan kung bakit talaga na-prime up yung economy ng Greece, yung kanilang inward remittances from their overseas workers. And then just like what the Archbishop mentioned, later on, nagpalikan yung mga yan. Even the Koreans went to that. The Chinese, yan yung Chinese diaspora. Kaya meron tayong Hendici, meron tayong Gokongwei, meron tayong Lusutan. All of those personalities are products of the Chinese diaspora. There is the Indian diaspora, there is the Irish diaspora, the German diaspora, the Italian diaspora, and the Jewish diaspora. Hindi ito original ng Pilipino. Kinopya lang natin. And yun yung mga formula nila that did very well for their country. And I think it will do the same for the Philippines. Banggitin ko lang. Kaya kanina yung BPO. Yung BPO, kanina sinabi ko, kasi yung inward remittance ng 8.7 million, if you translate that in average, based on 21 billion, that translates about $200 a month ang income nila. Doon sa BPO, 6.1, nung the last time I looked, no, yung last na nakuha ko, 2009, $6.1 billion ang income ng BPO against unemployment base of about 400,000. So, kumpitin nyo kung magkano yung magkano yan. Mas malaki yan. I think that's about 4 times the value of the OFW. Kasi mas malaki ang income ng mga nasa BPO compared to the average income of an OFW. siyempre mas skilled yung BPO.
Question sa ating mga kasamahan sa media. Yes, Beverly. Divide.
Sabi po ni Chinese ambassador yesterday, sir, sabi po ni Chinese ambassador yesterday, their official position is that they're open to talks, but they wanted joint exploration with the Philippines. Ano po ang comment nito?
Well, alam mo, yung joint exploration, that is okay. Kung buong yung tinatawag na South China Sea ang pinag-uusapan. Ang problema kasi dyan, yung joint exploration, doon sa atin eh. Yan ang dahilan kung bakit ako po, Bishop, nag-oppose dito sa JMSU, yung Joint Marine Survey Undertaking. Kasi yung Joint Marine Survey Undertaking, 75% of that area nasa loob ng ating exclusive economic zone. Tapos yung tatlong bansa, yung tripartite niya, ang paghahati-hatian, yung loob ng ating bakuran. Ang sabi ko, maganda siguro magkaroon ng joint exploration sa kabuuan. Lahat ng, para yung lugar ng China, yung lugar ng Vietnam, lahat tayo makikinabang pantay-pantay. And yun din ang sinasabi ko, when we speak of the state of the nation, until now, the state of the nation is hurting from the JMSU that we entered into several years ago, PNOC and the China Overseas Oil Company, and then the Vietnam Overseas National Oil Company. Why? Kasi doon sa lugar natin nag-survey yung Chinese vessel. We don't know kung ano mang nalaman nila dyan. Ang data na sa kanila, hindi sa atin. Sila ngayon ang nagpo-process dyan, and only they, as far as I know, are aware of what can be found inside. Kasi geological yan, and the geological study will indicate the potential for oil. Kaya hanggang yun, nasasaktan tayo dyan dahil kinunan tayo ng information ng lugar natin. That is, again, part of the state of the nation as a result of what happened mga 3-4 years ago. Hanggang ngayon, nararamdaman natin yan.
Bakit po pumayag ang parte ng Pilipinas na yung kanila, yung atin ay hati-hati?
Yung nga, nung pinapa-imbestiga yan, we ran into a blank wall. Kasi alam naman panahon na yun, pag pinigilan ka, hindi mo na ma-imbestiga. Hindi mo patawag si Mr. Manyala, yung presidente ng PNOC, bakit siya pumayag doon? Sino ba nag-utos sa kanya na pumayag sa ganyan tripartite agreement na yan? Although mukhang merong basbas sa taas. Hindi lang...
Ako alam ko kung sino.
Ano Pangasinan po? Kung nabanggit nyo yung pagtutuloy doon sa regime of island, doon sa baseline law, as opposed to yung archipelagic baseline. Tama bang pagkakatanda ko na yung duwag na senador na author nun ay Trillanes sa Kapilero? Si Trillanes, yung author ng Senate version ng baseline law? Siya yung pumayag ng regime of island?
No. Pumasok kasi yung DFA dyan. Pumasok yung DFA, nakipag-meeting sa amin. So doon, I can only speak for what happened dito sa Kamara ng Representantes. Kasi ano na yun dapat archipelagic baselines where the Scarborough Shoal and the KIG will form part of the baseline. So magdodrawing ka ng baseline, connect sa Scarborough. So anything between the Scarborough Shoal and Zambales will be part of territorial sea, hindi lang exclusive economic zone. Kasi pag territorial sea mo na, then you have control, direct control over that sea. CIQ, Customs, Immigration, Quarantine, kontrolado mo. Pero pag EEC, you only have control over the exploitation of natural resources, pero wala kang karapatan para mag-traffic dyan, mag-board ng mga, bawal ng mga ibang sasakyang pandagat.
Okay. Hinga natin ng huling mga pananaw ang ating mga panuhin. Archbishop Cruz, pag i-describe yun ng one word, yung zona ni Pinoy kahapon, what is that one word?
Optimistic.
Congressman Goles, the same one word. Anong gagawin?
Alam niyo, babalik ako doon sa metaphor niya, yung symbolism niya. Wangwang. Wangwang is a transformational state. The moment, kasi ano ang society natin noong una? Society of wangwang, lahat may motorsiklo, merong backup, merong nagsisirena to announce to the world na ako ay special member of this society at tumabi kayong lahat. So, naging equalizer to a lot of extent yung statement ng Presidente ng wangwang. And then if you examine every aspect of his SONA, andun yung mga transformational messages, no, pagdating sa tax collection. Doctors, professionals, lawyers, parang mababa. Binanggit yan eh. Ang inyong binabayad ng tax, dapat mas malaki ang taxes nyo compared to the minimum wage earners. Tapos yung tungkol sa rice importation, etc., etc., etc. So, transformation. Kanina ginamit ko yung word na transformer. Basahin ko yung very interesting ito eh. Optimus Prime. Ano ba ang quality ni Optimus Prime? No? Optimus Prime. Nakalagay po dito. He is depicted as a brave, powerful, wise, and compassionate character who puts all his talent to use to improve the universe around him. Optimus is portrayed as having a strong sense of justice and righteousness and has dedicated himself to the protection of all life, particularly the inhabitants of Earth. And ito pa. His adamant commitment to leadership by example, yung wangwang, and avoidance of any hypocrisy in his command. But beyond this, nakalagay ito, essentially upbeat battlefield general. So, yun ang kailangan natin sa bansang ito. Now, whether this is an exact depiction, mas maganda siguro na it should be the one to inspire. Maging Optimus Prime ang leader ng ating bansa. Megatron naman, si Megatron is a character from the Transformers franchise created by etc. He is the primary antagonist and leader of the evil faction. Tapos, yan po yun. So, siguro, hanapin natin kung sino yung mga Megatron sa ating lipunan at sila ang puksain.
Yan po bang Megatron ay she or he?
Walang nilagay na genderless.
Neuter yan. Neuter gender.
Yan yung mga tumalo kay Voltes 5 at Massinger C.
Yeah.
With that, pinapasalamatan po natin ating managing panay ngayon, si Congressman Redoles ng Parañaque, and of course, si Archbishop Oscar Cruz, sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga.
Dagdag ko pala, yung Cybertron, ang ginamit ito, evil forces of the Decepticons. So, Decepticons. So, sino yung mga
nag-STL. Mga nag-STL, Decepticons.
Decepticons, huwag niyo ko titignan.
Very good.